Engine man can have love for the truckie. Beautiful minds, but we love getting ugly. Risk takers with a clover, man, we love getting lucky. You run, we chase fire, I love when it ducks me. Tones go off, house watch, read the address out. 1075, get up off the magic couch. 500 gallons prepared for the baddest drought. Who else you want on the way when disaster's Can't even get a little bit rattled when you enter with exit apparel. Mayday, member down, they'll drag you. You won't get this from every Tom, Dick, and Harold. But here's a view from the top floor with Mickey Farrell.
Are you ready?
I guess so.
You wanted to do this. I wanted to cancel, and you made me come here.
Oh, now it's my fault.
And you used a word like insurmountable. That's a big word. I don't think I've ever used that in anything I've written. That's a fantastic word. So we've already started. So effective leadership, this came out, let's see. This came out 7 hours ago today. Effective leadership in high pressure situations demands more than just tactical skills. It requires a solid foundation of grit and resilience. Leaders must confront challenges head on with the courage to stand firm even when the odds seem insurmountable. Grit is what separates good leaders from the rest and enables them to trust their people to perform their duties without hesitation. Micromanaging, on the other hand, stifles creativity and autonomy, leading to decreased morale and productivity. God, I want to circle that paragraph right there. When incident commanders focus excessively on minute details, company commanders often feel undervalued and over-scrutinized. This often leads to reduced productivity, both on and off the floor, as company commanders become preoccupied with meeting expectations instead of focusing on the actual work. Fireground micromanagement also hinders the development of leadership skills, preventing inexperienced officers on all levels from independently solving problems and limiting leadership's overall growth in adaptability. Hi. In the end, the ability to remain steadfast and confident under pressure not only sets an example for young leaders, but more so for all the companies operating on the fireground. But what many will never understand from the top down is that it builds a legacy of trust and reliability that defines exceptional leadership on all levels. Bang. Bro, there's so much here. So this is why I love that we get to do this, because I read these in the morning. You're always posting them like first thing in the morning, right? And you put your posts up, and then I always read them. I'm probably one of the earlier people to read them because you don't have a lot of interaction yet on that post, right? In the morning when I read them, because I read them pretty early on. And so I always love, and I always know which one are bangers, like when they come out, right? I know it's like they're poking or prodding, or you're actually addressing issues that we whisper about or talk about, not formally but informally, right?
Yeah.
So like micromanaging, I hate the term micromanaging. I hate everything that, and I think, a terrible micromanager when I was young. I talk a lot about like maturity and time and experience, and I think with time comes the ability not to micromanage. I think that we are too often caught up in a lack of confidence in our own abilities and skills, and so we overcompensate. But the one message that I read in this is that then our company commanders that are in those positions, that are working for bosses that are scrutinizing every minute on the fireground or every minute in the firehouse, our company bosses become preoccupied with meeting their expectations instead of just letting them do their job. It's a problem.
Yeah, it's a big problem. And that comes from, I feel, now that word grit. It's an important word in the fire service. And I believe that when we lose the concept of grit, more or less grit meaning experience, real experience, we lose the ability to trust, the ability to love. And when I say love and trust, I mean allowing your men to do the work. It's as simple as that. And when we hold back guys from doing the work, it ultimately affects leadership. Now, we can read all the books we want, and we've talked about this in the past. Like, there's a lot of great leadership books, but reading a leadership book is not going to make you a leader by any means.
No.
It's the experience of making those mistakes, collectively organizing those mistakes, and then developing a way to lead your men from experience of mistakes. And, humility is another word that we've talked about that gets thrown around quite a bit. But grit and humility are two words or two theories, if you will, that for me makes a great leader, and that is circumference with the word love. And you don't truly love your men unless you trust them to make decisions under stress. And that's where we have to get to with the leaders we are today and the leaders we have coming in, that not necessarily everyone has the time on the job, and with time comes experience, but you have to be able to take on that role and trust those company officers on the command level with their experiences to make the right decisions.
I think so many things when it comes to this topic, but the one thing I want to stress, which I think is unique for you and where you come from, is you guys certainly operate with a very defined role and responsibilities of every single person in every company. You guys are very specific in the job at hand, what that job entails, your position, your tools, your actions, your all of it, right? Whereas majority of fire departments might have a riding position that day, but it's not clearly defined a lot of times. We have a lot of departments where people are struggling to find what their job actually is, and we have a lot of company level bosses or officers that find it to be their job to tell you every single thing that needs to be done on the fire ground.
Yeah, and that comes from lacking or not truly understanding firefighter IQ. Firefighter IQ is the X's and O's like we've talked about, right? So the argument now falls into staffing. I'm so tired of staffing. I don't care your staffing, you have to understand the game you're playing. As kids, we played 2-on-2, a 3-on-3 pickup basketball game at the park. I think we've all done that. However, we all understand 5-on-5. But how many times did you go to the park and played 5-on-5 as a kid? Not too often because of staffing. Kids were at football, kids were skateboarding, kids were grounded, doing homework, whatever it was. You played 1-on-1, 2-on-2, 3-on-3, but you understood basketball IQ. That translates to firefighter IQ. We have to know the X's and O's of the fires, of where you fit in at that fire ultimately, and how to pivot and fill in the gaps. So if you're riding on a rig with 1 in 3, you still have to understand that in the moment, we still have to cut this roof. We still have to get into the rear maybe. Let me put the X's and O's and move it around to play the game the right way. This comes from, again, understanding the IQ of firefighting.
Yes, but that has to be clearly defined though, right? We know going out the door that we have a job at hand and the job needs to get done, and there are certain things that have to all go in order to make sure that we get to a proven outcome of success, right? Whatever that looks like. My issue is that before I go down the road of micromanagement of our company commanders, which I do want to talk about, I want to talk about, first off, I think a lot of fire departments don't allow their company commanders to be successful because they don't have a true definition of what the roles and responsibilities are of those companies. I think that it's very gray, and that's what I was getting at with you. And I agree with you. You and I, when I was there when you started coming up in your mind about the X's and O's of the fire ground, and I was like, yeah, like football, right? We're sitting down running plays, and you got the X's and O's on the.
I think we might have been sitting in the airport or something on the plane.
100%,
it just kind
right?
of clean to me, yeah.
And it makes tremendous sense that is what we do. But even before we can get to the chalkboard, you got to have somewhat of a playbook.
Yeah.
And the problem is, though, is I think so many places don't have a clearly defined playbook, which then doesn't set our people up for success from the commanders on down. And if your backstep firefighter doesn't know what his actual role and responsibility is every time they go out the door, and they have to be told what to do. I mean, I look at this permission-based fire service that we live in today. It's all permission-based. Like, that's why I was saying where you come from, very defined, very specific. You guys teach it, train it from day one. You know your job at hand. You line up a roll call. You know your position, and that tells you what to do, where to be, how to act, what to have, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of places that don't have that.
And when you don't have that, you make up your own plays. And that's where it gets dangerous. When you start making up the playbook.
On the fly.
Yes. At times, yes, we have to call audibles, but the audibles are in the book as well.
That's part of the game.
Yes.
That's part of the game.
And that stuff that, those oddballs are the stuff that we're drilling on, we're training on.
the plan A, B, C. Okay, let's go to D. What's D really? Let's talk about D tonight, right? So those are your tabletop drills talking about the what ifs. But you can't rely on the what ifs every time. You have to have A, B, and C in line to a formatted way of playing the game. That's how you succeed.
We always focus on the what ifs. Drives me nuts with training.
Yeah.
Instead of just going through and tackling the 90%, we're always focused on the 10%. Meaning 10%, this could happen, so then what? Well, we'll get there.
Yeah.
Can we concentrate on the 90%, get that down to muscle memory, get that down to our, in and out bread and butter, and then let's talk about the 10%. But it's like we always look to push or poke or, but what if this happens? What if that happens? I'm sure you get it all the time on your posts when you put something. It's like, it's not Bible. You're not preaching. It's a work in progress. Like, these are thoughts that come out. And of course there's going to be an exception to everything that we talk about.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's one of the things with training that I get angry with sometimes is that you go to these scenarios and they're throwing everything at you. Firemen down, multiple 1045s of victims, people jumping out windows. It's like, why don't we have the training evolution where we find nobody, and then you as the officer.
That's right. I remember you talking about this.
Yes. Then you as that officer build the confidence that you can now clearly give that report to the command, say ladder 1 to command, primaries are negative on the fire floor.
And give them confidence to make that report.
Yes, and now that incident commander can trust you. You have to build that trust by being confident when there's nothing going wrong. Things are going good. Trust me, I got this, Chief. But the training starts with that. You can't go into your first training evolution and have 40 victims laying around the apartment, It's not reality, but that's what we train for the worst, right?
I love that. I remember we were in Alabama and we were talking about that. And you said to me, I've never been to a training conference where we're doing search and there's never not a victim.
Yeah.
We always have victims when we do search drills. It's almost like if you come up empty-handed, you missed a victim because you didn't grab one.
Yeah, and then you're questioning your ability to do the search. You got to build the confidence that you can do the job. They always say, train to expect to see a fire, train to expect to find victims. Yes, we want to expect and train to do all these things, but also train to build confidence that you are doing your job properly.
Operational reality.
Yes.
We're not finding victims at every fire.
No.
And we have to instill the confidence in our people that when they search that room and they didn't find anyone, or there's not a baby under the crib or behind the couch or between the wall and the mattress, for them to get on the radio and then give the report that primary search is negative, they can have confidence behind that report.
It's just shooting a million foul shots. Boom, boom, boom. You're sinking every one.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You got to build that confidence during practice, during training, to sink that foul shot every time. Because when you go to the game and the real pressure's on, can you perform? Well, I did it in training 1,000 times. I feel pretty confident that I can complete the basics without any hesitation. Building that relationship with, ultimately, the incident commander. Now that's where the term grit comes into. Well, the incident commander has built what he has done throughout his career by going to fires, performing searches and coming up negative many times and being confident to give it. Now on the other side, flip the script, he's the guy in the street receiving that report. He trusts his commanding officer because he's done it. He went to 1 million fires and found 0 victims. He knows that's an operational reality, that we're not going to find a victim at every fire. So let's train to do that, I think. I think that's a good way to start building the confidence and understanding the IQ of firefighting is through not every fire is going to be plan D.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, sometimes one line through the front door puts the fire out, we mop up and go home.
And most times, that's the way it goes.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about my past in all these years in the fire service, and we're always trying to push the envelope in our training to do more and answer more when we really should be focusing really at the upfront, the bread and butter, what we do regularly, what the commonality is every single day on the asphalt.
Yeah.
100%. So I just want to circle back a little bit because I want to get back to that post, right?
Yeah, sure.
So we talked about, and I brought up, I kind of wanted to set the stage. I want to go in progression. So I talked about where our departments and companies are failing us, where we don't have a clear playbook or roles and responsibilities of riding positions and things like that, which creates an environment of a permission fire department, where we have our firefighters asking for permission to do work or to be told. They're not going to act or take initiative because they're waiting to be told to go act and take initiative, right? So now we move to the company officer, right? We get away from the department, now we're at that company officer level, and we find a lot of times that people in the fire service, and I talk about this a lot, I know you do too, but I've been pretty heavy on it lately, talking about how people are seeking out more about culture and leadership than they are tactics and skills.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think the equation is so flipped in the fire. We should be focusing 90% on strategy, tactics, and skills, and 10% on culture and leadership, but instead it's so skewed the other way, right? And it's because we're starving for that, right? So, we're starving so much for the leadership side of things. It goes to your post about micromanagement, not knowing how to lead. Leading people, being a leader, requires an unbelievable amount of trust in your people and also confidence in your own abilities.
And confidence to understand when to step back and let your people work.
All part of it, right? I agree with you 100%. So we need to get our people to have a sense of confidence about themselves to be in that position. But we all know that there are plenty of leaders that lack confidence. Ego gets in the way. A whole lot of things can cloud judgment or create poor leadership. So I don't know, just your thoughts on the company leader and what maybe some of those, you just went through this yourself. You're still navigating that space. You're newly promoted lieutenant after 20 plus years in the fire service. So I
think a lot of it is going back to that word humility. I have the grit from going to fires, and I truly believe that. I don't think grit is a word that displays any bit of overconfident. It's just going to fires and making mistakes over and over, learning from them. That's where you develop your grit.
Yeah.
But navigating that arena of being a new company officer, that's hard. It's hard. It's very challenging. But it's really hard to develop into that leader that you want to be if the next level up that you're answering to is not allowing you to do that. And that's where the whole micromanaging word comes into, is that just let me do my job. And that comes from you having the same time frame in your mind of what run or box or fire or emergency we're operating at. There's a timestamp in the mind of the chief that he has to remember that, we still have to get into the lobby, we still have to go up the stairs, we still have to find the apartment, we still have to gain access to the apartment. Even for a basic water leak or gas leak, a nuisance run, it takes time to get into position. And then when that incident commander is prompting you for an answer, you're not even thinking about the job you have to do or getting the detailed information. You're rushing what you have to say because you're so fearful of letting him down. So I think it's a give and take between the incident commander and the company officer. The company officer needs to develop what he can do by learning in real time. And that comes down to the tempo and flow of a fire emergency, where I talk about often, but it's very real and very important that even though the company officer is setting the tempo of the fire, the chief officer has to come into that fire and realign himself with that tempo that's being set by that first new truck officer. Very important we do that, because he's ultimately setting the tempo of that fire off the bat. The chief's just kind of adapting to it. And when the chief fights that and doesn't adapt to it, well, that's when we start to fail. Then you start to see the mismanagement, the micromanagement, it kind of starts all falling apart, and we're not really truly doing our job. We're just answering questions that are being prompted without true results.
I wrote down patience, the word patience. It is a challenge. I've been there. I've played that command position many times for fires. And you're watching that fire progress. You're watching that fire go from one window to two, maybe to a third, watching the smoke from the eaves change. And you know it takes time.
Yeah.
Patience is a big part of experience, I think. With experience, you learn how to have, I think, more patience.
And that's the space between, right? And that's what we don't really talk about in our training a lot of times because of lack of experience. But the space between is simply time. Time's a tool in the fireground, and when we learn to manipulate time, we use it to our advantage. Because we're always losing time in everything we do in life. We know this time is very valuable, but at a fire, we're already set back on time. We have to make up for that time by gaining our position properly, but allowing for that time signature stamp to work in real time. And when you can start to manipulate that and tweak it a little bit, well, then we start to win. We start to gain that time we lost. Double park car, now we're delayed, now we're losing more time. We get there by gaining position properly, the IQ of firefighting, the X's and O's, moving everything into position, you can start to make up that time. Time is very precious, time is very valuable. We have to be able to manipulate it and move it to our advantage. But that has to come from the IQ of firefighting and the trust between the incident commander, the company officer, and the men working the fire.
You say trust. That's a big word. And we say we trust one another. We say we have each other's backs, the brotherhood of the fire service, right? But man, when you have people starving for good leadership, there's an inherent lack of trust throughout the system, right?
Yeah.
And I know, again, you and I, we do this often. You and I get to sit down and, we enjoy each other's company. We would be doing this whether the cameras are rolling or not, right? Whether we were recording or not. And what I love to bring to the table is just that other perspective, because you really have a perspective. I mean, I knew you were in the volunteers years ago, and so on, but there's a huge fire service out there, and there is not great positivity or roles of definitions for what our companies are doing, but goodbye, Sebastian, and so on. And thank you. And I think that trust is a challenge at times. And I don't mean I trust you with my life. Nobody ever wants harm on one another. I mean trust that they're getting the job done. Trust that they're gaining position. Trust that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so again, you can read every Navy SEAL leadership book there is, and there's some value in that. But really, what goes hand in hand with trust? What's the other component in most things? When you trust someone, you love them.
Yeah.
And when you love someone,
Yes.
you trust them.
Right.
You have to unconditionally love the people that work for you. And that comes from not hiding in the office upstairs. That's from being in the kitchen, looking you in the eye and saying, how are the kids? Hey, how's your dad feeling? He's been sick. How's things?
Yeah.
That's real love. That's where you build the trust. Now the tones go off and you go out the door. Well, we're already ahead of the game because I trust you, because I love you. But there's no books telling you to love each other. That just comes from being human. It's from humanity of the fire service we get overlooked.
Do we have to teach that now more than ever?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would agree. That's why I said that, right? It's I feel that. I feel that things that we took for granted years ago. You grew up with the FDNY Brothers in Battle videos, the A&E specials, Firehouse, all those awesome shows. I grew up with them too, 80s and 90s, right? We're cut from the same cloth. And you look at what those guys do throughout that video series, that docu-series. They are smiling, laughing, and loving on one another.
Yeah.
Would we get the same videos today in firehouses across this country? I don't know.
No, I think the videos you get today would be more malicious. Not so much the fun-loving breaking balls like we grew up on in the fire service. I feel like it's a lot more malicious. It's a lot more out for one another, individually rather than the team, the family. And I don't know if that necessarily comes from bad guys. I think it comes from the civilians and the politicians pushing an agenda on the brotherhood that they'll never understand. They don't know what it's like to walk into a kitchen for the first time and how uncomfortable that may be. But when you start breaking some balls and you're having some fun, it makes it easy. But the ones pushing these agendas have never had to do that. And that's where we're getting lost, because that's overtaking the reality of the firehouse. The four walls, right? I don't care what goes on outside, downtown, this, that, whatever. It's the men and women behind those four doors, the big red door goes down. That's what it's about. That core nucleus of the fire service begins there.
What about, you say agenda, but what about individuals' personal agendas? Because that is certainly prevalent today.
And I've seen it more recently probably than ever, obviously, and you as well, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I mean, I just told you some stories today.
Yeah.
The stuff that I'm dealing with that, this would never have happened years ago. I would never have to have this conversation. And I don't blame, it's not the fire service's fault. It's not, I think when it comes to the individuals, we really have to focus on like what the individual is bringing to the table for us at our table. And today, I think we're wrapped up more than ever in our own shit. And I think it plays out at the kitchen table, or doesn't play out at the kitchen table because nobody's there.
Yeah, exactly. The ones at the kitchen table are the senior guys sitting around, or the guys a lot of times whose fathers were firemen and they came around the firehouse and they saw that, they witnessed that. Not always, but those are the guys you start seeing around the kitchen table. People hide. It's so easy to hide today.
I wanna stress this, Mick, and I would love for your take on it. Is I'm a firm believer though that we need those 5, 10, 15, 20-year guys to double down on making themselves available, because it is infectious. If they would sit there and create conversation and engagement, the others will come.
Yeah.
I've seen it. I know it. But we got to challenge, because sometimes it's easier to slink away. Sometimes it's easier. We were just having a conversation the other day about individual bunk rooms over, one bunk room.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was talking to somebody the other day, and all new firehouse builds are all individual bunk rooms. You have your own space now, and what does that do? What gets taken away from that experience, right? The pranks, the laughters, the farting, the snoring, all that stuff, right? That's like part of it, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we are doing it to ourselves a little bit, but I think that, we might have to work just a little bit harder, but there's still so much good. And there's so many misguided people that think it's so bad, and I want to challenge them to find the good.
Yeah.
They're still good.
It's still the greatest job, paid or volunteer, doesn't
Right?
matter what you do. It's still a good thing. It's the fire service is such a special thing. And I don't think we'll ever lose the quality of the men and women that join the fire service. We still really get great people.
Yeah.
Some bad apples, of course, but everything you do, there's bad apples. And I think if anything more today, I think the bad apples can kind of get by in certain places that one time they wouldn't be able to, mainly because of, I wouldn't say fire duty's down, but like, it's not what it was. And you're not held so accountable anymore to always make your position, to always do the right thing, because people have excuses and people can hide behind things now, and that's a whole different conversation. But
well, it is, but it's not, because we started this conversation about micromanagement, company level commanders, incident command, right, and how that works. And like, we have leaders that hide.
yeah,
We have whole companies that hide, right? We have leaders that hide. We have people that hide behind their bosses. We have bosses that hide behind their people. We have, how many guys would take it on the chin for another guy and not just selling them out down the river?
yeah.
Who's taking a moment to pull the guy aside and correct the behavior so it doesn't need to go any further? I just, podcast that launched yesterday, Jimmy Berry out of Orange County, Florida. Great dude. He's been a lieutenant for quite a while now on a very busy truck company down there. He's got almost 22 years, I think, in the fire service. He's got like 21 and a half years. He's like, I've never written anybody up. He's like, we take care of it. There's something about that.
Yeah, you don't write guys up on this job.
Right?
You don't. There are other agencies that do that within
Sure.
public safety, not the fire department. At least not where I work. It's not even the vocabulary. It's just like, you have a red pen, you hide it. You don't even want the brothers to see you have the red pen. You know what I mean? Like,
I do, I get it. And when he said that yesterday, I was like, yes. I'm like, that's what we need more of. But man, I talk to people and it's all about CYA, man. Cover your ass. Like, if that guy's out of line, you gotta document it. You gotta write it. I'm like, well, why don't you address it with him first?
yeah.
Right? I mean, obviously there's severity of it, right? I mean, anybody can hear this and be like, oh, but obviously, right? If it goes above and beyond, or it's something that needs to be reported or addressed, it's reported and addressed. But if it's a fireground issue, attitude in the firehouse issue, something like that, that shit gets addressed. It needs to be addressed.
And it gets addressed to the senior members. It never makes it to the company officer. And if it does, it's too late. That shit should have been dealt with long before it ever gets to the office upstairs. And that's where we're losing that. That's one thing we are losing, that guys are going to the officers with problems. Never come to your officer with a problem unless it's a real problem. Go to the senior man. There's a pecking order within the ranking file of firefighter, because we're all the same as firefighter. but there's a pecking order. There's middle management. So if you're a probie, you go to the senior probie. If the senior probie can't help you, the senior probie will now go to middle management, that 8 to 10 year guy. If they can't help you, then they bring it to the senior guy. If the senior guy can't figure it out, which 99.9% of the time they can, he's the only guy that goes upstairs and goes, "Hey, Lou, you got a minute?" And it's talked off record, but it's dealt with. Never gets to writing anyone up. If you're working in a place where people are writing each other up, find a new place to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it.
I agree. I think the investment of the people, meaning, they're invested to make sure that the place runs at its best. And it doesn't need to go up the chain like that so quickly. It can be dealt with. And I think what we have to do, though, and what doesn't get done a lot of, it certainly does in your job, but I'm sure it's even changing there. But it's changed a lot in the landscape that, a lot of people complain they don't have a senior man anymore. They don't have people that have that invested interest to be that informal leader to take it by the hand and address it. And I've seen it firsthand where one individual creates a policy change. Whereas if they just address the one individual, we wouldn't have to change any policies.
Yeah, well, we're just reactive in the fire service. Everything we do is reactive rather than proactive. From line of duty deaths to how we change our tactics to basic firehouse living. Reactive, not proactive.
Right. And that is super frustrating where we have had something in place for all these years. And instead we have a management that middle management or upper management won't address an individual, but they'll address the whole. And it's easier to do a sweeping policy change than it is to bring up a single guy or to address it.
And this comes from the outside world influencing the inside world.
Yeah.
The outside world that doesn't understand what goes on behind the big red door. Standing policies and standards that really do not coincide with what's really going on with the core family, the love. And when the outside world is affecting the core values of that family, that's where we lose the love. When we lose the love, we lose the trust. We lose the trust, we don't have the leadership. It's all progressively moving either way, forward or backwards, but it's always progressively moving somewhere.
Right. I would agree. All right, back to this post, because there's a lot of good little nuggets in here. So we talked about the company officer. We went from the company officer. Now we go up the line a little bit, right? And so this often leads to reduced productivity, both on and off the fire floor. As company commanders become preoccupied. We talked about that. Where is the one line that I want to hit on? When incident commanders focus excessively on the minute details, company commanders often feel undervalued and over-scrutinized. Never heard it put that way before. The minute detail. Love that.
It's just the ordinary details, right? So when we're focusing on something as simple as getting a last name, just let the officer give you the back. Don't prompt the officer, unless it's a brand new officer, right? You get a brand new guy, he's trying to figure it all out. Sometimes a good officer will prompt him to what's next.
Right.
But when you're dealing with guys that have been doing it for a little bit, let them make the decision. Let them figure out what the problem is they're addressing, and then giving that information to the next level. But you have to allow them to do the job inside, because once you start overstepping and missing that time balance transfer of what's going on, well, now we're not getting you accurate information, because now we're rushed. Now we're making things up because we think that you need to hear something.
Right.
You're starting to make things up.
Yeah, we're rushing reports.
Yes. Let the guys make the report. I had an old boss. We used to laugh because we had a certain chief that wouldn't allow the officer to get to where he had to be. 6-story walk up. It takes some time to walk up. We get to the 4th floor, the chief's prompting him for a report. So this old officer of mine, salty dog, he would turn the radio off when he got there. He'd walk up to the top floor, wherever he had to go in, figure out what's going on, turn his radio on, and then give the report to the chief, just so he wouldn't hear the chief yapping in his ear. Right. Because again, it takes a distraction from what your focus-driven mission is, to now you're worried about what you have to tell him. So it's rushing the reports, like you said. So allow for those officers to make the decisions.
Or you're getting false reports.
Yeah.
You're getting, there's an anticipation that, I know what's going to be up there when we get there. So you give that report on the way up, and then you get there and you go, nope.
Yep.
Or another company's giving a report they shouldn't be giving. right?
That happens all the time, yeah.
Right. And I think that creates an environment of confusion and danger, and you could really slippery slope very quickly into a pile of shit by doing that.
Yeah. When I first came on the job, not to date myself, but we all didn't have radios. Looking back, it's completely insane because I don't have that much time on the job, but there was, within my years of being a career firefighter, not all of us carried radios. We'd go get the meal, we couldn't split up because you didn't have a radio. If we had a run, you missed the run. There's something to that. Very dangerous yet, but you listen to fires from back then to fires today. There's no overstepping. There's no bullshit on the radio. Like there's a little bit, like every fire we have that, but now everyone has a radio. Everybody wants to give a report because everybody wants to prove that I know firefighter Q. I'm making my position. Let me get into position and give that report. Roof's open. Well, listen, I don't want you to tell me the roof's open because once that roof's open and the conditions will change inside, I'll know the roof's open. And when conditions aren't changing, I expect you to tell me ladder one, roof to ladder one. I'm delayed in getting to the roof.
So I love that because I don't know, I think it was you and I having a conversation, but you're like, I don't care what you do, I care about what you didn't do.
Exactly. What you can't do, more or less.
That needs to be talked about more, America. It needs to be talked about because we're always giving reports of what we're doing. Well, if there's an expectation from the get, I expect you to go to the roof and make a hole. I expect you to go to the rear, throw a ladder, vent, enter, whatever your job is. If that's your job and those are your tasks, there's an expectation that that's getting done. Great. I don't have to worry about it because I'm not hearing any differently. It's only when you get on the radio and say, I can't do it.
I'm delayed to the rear.
Right?
And then we pivot and then we understand the IQ of the firefighting, the IQ of the game. Now, if this X can't make it to here, well, this O is going to come to here and fill in that gap. Mm-hmm. We all have to understand the game. Very, very important.
Yeah, this X gets screened by this O. Another X has got to cheat over to pick up the run. Like
you watch the point guard bring the ball up in a basketball game. The guard's not telling him he's going to set the pick. You know that pick's coming.
That's right. You know it's coming.
And if it doesn't, well, then something's wrong. And then we talk about it.
Right.
But you just expect it.
Why don't we talk about this more? I mean, in full transparency, like in 29 years, we've talked about this now for the last 5 or 6 in my world. Never before that was there a conversation that's like, hey, do your job.
I don't think because everyone had radios that long ago. Now that everyone has radios, everybody wants to prove they're gaining their position. They're making their position.
Hey, Tom, can we get another round? Thank you.
I think that's a lot to do with it, though. Now you have the radio. You want everyone to know that you know what you're doing, so you tell everyone you know what you're doing. At one time, before the radio, you just went and did it, and we knew it was getting done because conditions were changing. They were getting better.
That's funny because that then parlays into a lot of what I think is happening today. We're all looking for an attaboy.
Yeah.
We're all looking for endorsement. We're all looking for to be recognized for doing our job.
And I think this kind of falls in line with a lot of the hands-on training that's out there. I know we spoke about this in the past, but a lot of the hands-on training, we're not speaking theory. We're just teaching the task. We're teaching what that objective is.
Yeah, you're good.
We're teaching you how to force the door, but we're not teaching you what goes on 10 feet inside the door.
Right.
That's the IQ of firefighting.
Right.
The door is just the obstacle. That's not the objective. The objective is 10 feet, 15 feet, 20 feet inside that hallway. That's what you have to talk about. And I think that when we're not teaching that in our hands-on training, in our hot classes, and all these conferences that are great, we're just teaching the actual, defeating the obstacle, not the theory of why we're doing it. We're losing sight. So now we go to a fire, right? Mm-hmm. And you just went to a training event and you learned how to cut the roof. And you did the Milwaukee cut, this cut, the other cut. I don't know what the cuts are. I don't cut big roofs. But when you do that, now you go to a fire, you catch a fire a week later, and you say, you know what? I just spent 2 days at a conference. I'm going to go to the roof. Even though there's already 3-4 other guys on the roof, we have a dry line being stretched and it's not being stretched very quickly. Maybe you should just fill in the gap and get that line in position, the pawn moving into position, getting that line in position. Rather, you want to be the knight or the bishop. And you go to the roof and you kind of just stand around. But after the fire, everyone says, what'd you do? What'd you do? What'd you do? Oh, I was in the roof. Didn't you see me?
Right.
So, thank you.
Thanks, bro.
So you understood kind of what to do, but you didn't know the theory, so you were out of position within the IQ of firefighting. But you wanted everyone to see you on the stage with the platform on that roof, saying, I was at the fire.
100%. I think though too, this guy's good.
Very good, yeah.
I think the thing is though, right, is like, we want to be seen. And the reason why we want to be seen is because we want to get accolades for doing or being there, right? Like, never before has it become a thing where, like, I even think, like, even awards and so on, we're recognizing people for years ago what were considered normal tasks. Like, it's just the whole process. It's become more about the individual. We talked about that earlier. Like, and it's just like everything we talk about just keeps coming back to me, where it's like we've created an environment more so about the individual today than ever before. You know, it's like we should be doing a hell of a lot more unit citation awards and not like individual medals of. And regardless of what your beliefs are on recognize, just in general, I think like people are always looking for validation that they're worth what they think they brought to the table. It's like, you know, hey, I did that. Even dumb it down to the volunteer firehouse where it's like this guy's always the guy that lets the service company in, or he's always the guy that cooks, or he's always, but it's not done with just the belief that they want to do. It's almost like it's being done because they're looking for recognition for them doing something a little extra or above. Whereas years ago it was just understood, like, thank you. Like, yeah, we appreciate it. I'm not going to kiss your ass for it. Like, appreciate what you do.
Yeah.
I don't know.
My dad always said, and we were like growing up in engine-based department, like most volunteer departments, because if you ever get your picture in the paper, you weren't doing your job.
Right.
You're out of position.
Right.
If you're putting the fire out, there's no news camera going to see you. It's afterwards if you get your picture paper. All right, the fire's out. But if there's fire and your picture's in the paper, he always said you're not doing your job. There's something to that, you know? Now, obviously, the roof, the OV, like in the city departments, yeah, it's a little different. And social media would see this in apps and YouTube, all this stuff in real-time footage is a little different. But a lot of truth to that. It's like, you get your picture in the paper and there's fire out 3 windows and you're an engine company, you're not doing your job.
Agreed. Agreed. I love the I hate going to fires and standing there. I just hate it. It's like you called, you want us, put us to work. And I get very annoyed quickly when you go to a fire that's being mismanaged and there's work to be done, and yet they're holding back companies from getting the work done or accomplished because the command staff is running out of the control of the fire scene, so it's easier to hold people back than to put people into forward positions. I firmly believe that. I think that's happening more and more every day, especially in like the volunteer fire world, right? Whereas that company shows up and you just automatically look at them and put them to work. I have a task for you to go do it. It doesn't happen like that much anymore. You really have to, my salesmanship comes out on the fire ground and talks our way into every fire. Because it's like, you know, I
it's
didn't
important
come
to do that.
100%.
And that comes with confidence. Like when you show up to a fire, not even in the volunteer world, like you show up to a multiple alarm fire, and I've done it in the past, where you show up and there's a list of companies. They're all standing there, right? They all want to go to work.
Right.
But if you walk up to that command post and you say, Chief, Ladder Company 1.
Right in the eyes.
We're here, what do you need us to do?
Yep.
Or if you're in the engine, Chief, Engine 1, we got a line, where do you want it? He might be saying in his mind, you know what? I was just about to call for a line. They got one. Listen, go do this, go do that. Boom, start a line there. Because you're, not that you're prompting him, but you're telling him that we're here. My company is ready to go to work.
I do it all the time.
And we expect to go to work.
I do it all the time.
You have to.
My big thing in the volunteer world is a lot of times getting a line to the fire takes precedent over searching in front of the line. And I know where you stand on that, and we've talked about it. But in the volunteer fire world, we need to get a line we need to get a line stretched.
Absolutely.
Got to get water on a fire. But a lot of times, you know, there are, especially like secondary or even primaries, maybe on the, you know, the floor above or something. It just isn't getting done in the timely fashion that it should be. Right? This is reality, right? So it's a lot of times that's my prompt to get in the door. Chief, search is complete, or you need us to take that, you know, take the top floor, or take the second floor.
Yeah.
You know, And nope, you know what? Yeah, if you guys can get up there and start giving me a search, I appreciate that. Yep, no problem. We're there.
And I always told my guys too, like especially, I tell them now, but even more so as a firefighter, that listen, if we have a covering officer today, he's not us. He's not. For the day, he represents us. Unfortunately, if he's not doing what he's supposed to do, but this is your company, not his. He's there for the day. You go to multiple on fire as a senior guy. You walk to the main post and say, "Chief, so and so company's here. What do you need us to do?" Even though you're a firefighter, you can still do that. And any chiefs are going to kind of look at you like, "What the fuck's this kid doing?" Deep down inside, they like it. Any chief that thinks maybe that's not the right thing to do probably isn't worth his own salt. That said, having the presence that you are here and you want to go to work and we're willing to go to work and we expect to go to work, put us to work.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to always come from the officer. Because that officer is going to hide behind you guys because he doesn't want to go to work. No, that's not always, but I've had situations where that was the case. And by the senior guy going to the command post, ultimately the senior guy put the company to work by communicating with the chief.
Sure. I love that position. In your job especially, where it's a highly coveted position that comes with a lot of responsibility and respect. And I wish we had more of that. And I wish more firefighters had the ability to have that influence during their career.
Would he be the senior man?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Senior man they run the show, man. They run the firehouse. I'm very fortunate. I think it's an FDNY thing. If it's not, maybe I'm mistaken. If it goes beyond that, but the men truly run the firehouse. Officers don't do anything really much. They take care of the guys. Our number one thing to do is take care of the men.
Right.
Chief D was just on Mike Cologne's podcast, and he talked just about that, about how our only goal, our only mission is to take care of the men, make sure they're good. And there's something to that. But in a good firehouse, that's really all you have to do is make sure they're good.
Yeah.
The senior guy runs the house.
Yeah.
Well,
there's this level of expectation, and then there's a level of excellence that comes with that. That the chief is taking care of the men because he knows the men is going to take care of him. And that goes to how that battalion's operating, or how those companies work well together, or how they get aligned to fire quickly. Like, there is this massive mutual respect that goes across the table both ways, right? I'll take care of you, but because you guys always take care of me.
Yeah. I had a chief in the 1-9 battalion. Chief Dottie was his name. Captain of 16 Engine. Just a true legendary chief. Not because he had all the greatest fires, because he loved his men. He would come to any firehouse, never had a bad thing to say about anybody, always had a smile. Brother, how you doing? How's the family? He took the time. He knew everybody's name, but they're always brother. It was always brother. Comes in, have a cup of coffee. What's going on, guys? And just talk. Most times when the chief comes by, it's a little awkward, a little nervous. Chief Dottie would come by. He's just like one of the guys coming by. Now, flip the script, we go to a fire. You would go break through any wall for that chief. Hey, listen, I need you to work Christmas, 4th of July, Easter. You're in every, chief, anything for you.
Anything you want.
And that's just the guy he was. And I always said, if our job ran with chiefs like him on every level, it would be a flawless job.
Yeah.
Flawless. He was a flawless chief.
Takes buy-in, right? I mean, like, that's a chief that doesn't focus on himself. He's focusing on his people.
Yeah.
Because he knows that his people will make him shine.
Yeah.
You got to go all in on our people. You said it before, like trust and love, right? Like, what's the other end of trust? It's love. You got to truly love, what you do. I think there's a couple of things you have to love. You got to love what you do. You got to love the institution of what the fire service stands for, and the sacrifice and work that comes with that. You have to embrace that and love it. And then you got to love the guy that you're riding next to.
Yeah.
I think those things absolutely matter.
And you put it all together, right? Love, trust. Basically, it's just good character and humanity.
Yeah.
And that's what this job's about. And that's what, I don't know if we're necessarily losing, but we're being challenged in the fire service in general to keep those core qualities, right? So when a guy wants to transfer to a new company, right? I don't care if you're from the busiest truck in the world and you want to come to my company for whatever reason. It's almost like, okay, you worked in so-and-so truck and this many fires on your belt. Are you really a good guy, though? Do you have a good character? Do you believe in humanity? Can I sit down and have a beer with you? Because if not, then I don't care how many fires you've been to. That's the guys I want to work with, right? It's not about the fires you go to. It's truly about the men you go to fires with. And we have to remember that. We're so quick to jump around to try to chase fire sometimes. If we just stop and realize, you know what? I got a really good thing here. Let me just dial it back, enjoy the moment, trust the process that I'll end up where I'm supposed to be in this job. Because good guys, like I said, always gravitate to great places, but you have to allow it to happen. It's like a fine wine. Pop the cork, let it breathe. It's like your career. You pop the cork, let that wine breathe before you drink it. Let it see.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, I don't know.
Good guys gravitate to good places. You know, you look at like squared away companies, everybody in that company subscribes to the mission and motto of that company, and those companies weed out people that aren't meant to be there.
It goes both ways, yeah. If you're in a company and you're not buying in, you will eventually find your way out of there.
You're gonna buy your way out, yeah. Absolutely. You can't hack it.
No.
You can't hack it.
And it used to be the years of, you can't hack the fires, right? Okay, then you go. But today, with a little bit of less fire duty down, I actually believe fires are up, but that's a debatable topic. But the consistency of fires are down. So people can kind of hang out in these companies where they don't necessarily belong, where they would ever be able to hang in the past. And they're kind of getting by on the coattails of the guys that came along before them. So never ever ride the coattails of the brothers and sisters that came along before you, that built that company, that built that pride, because you're ultimately detrimenting the future of that company and what those guys have built for you. So eventually those guys, they wean out. Even with the lack of fire duty in some of these areas that at one time are completely on fire, that are slowing down, still great companies with great tradition and great senior guys. People can hide there, but eventually, by not buying in, you will buy your way out, like you said.
I mean, this is a stupid question because I know the answer and I know you, but how important is it though, the integrity and the integrity of your company or the reputation of a company? I mean, I know where you stand on that and so on. And, I wonder how often people are okay with throwing your own company under the bus or not being proud of where you ride or what who you are. And I think that's a problem too. And I know with you, and all of that truly matters, and you're very proud of your lineage and where you came from and the companies that you worked for, and so on. But there are people in this world that doesn't mean much to them.
I think a lot of it is resume builders. People go to these companies for their resume, and they're moving on very quickly. But they want to wear that collar brass, on St. Patrick's Day or on Needle Day, or they go to a funeral and they look down and they say, you know what, look at this, look where I'm from. But you're really not holding the traditions and values of that firehouse. And I think that happens a lot, but it's very important that if you have those guys, I don't think we should abandon them. I think you should really, really try to teach them and show them this is how great the job
You
can
think
be.
they're just misguided?
I think they can be. So this goes back to firefighter IQ, right? So we're talking a little bit of culture, but let's flip it to the tactics side. Like, okay, you're not buying into the culture because maybe you weren't shown the right way. And that happens sometimes. For whatever reason, people slip through the cracks sometimes, right? Are you born with a firefighter IQ? Are you born with culture? No. Like, some of us grow up around it, so you're more in tune to what's going on. But the ones that have no experience with the fire service, I think a lot of times get lost in the mix because no one's taking the time to show them.
Yeah.
On the fire side and the culture side. So, are you born with firefighter IQ? I would say no. I think you're born with understanding teamwork, understanding positioning of whether it is firefighting or sporting or whatever it may be. You understand kind of where to fit in, whether you're working in the bar industry, pulling beers, and you're the guy behind the bar getting the ice. You're seeing we're low on ice. Let me get this. Let me clean here. But you're filling in the gaps. That doesn't necessarily go into fires, but it's understanding everything works together, right? And if one guy is holding back here, or one girl's screwing up here, the bartenders aren't going to make any money that night. A lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff, but we have to be shown that. So that can start at an early age. I want young firefighters to come from the restaurant industry or the sporting world. I don't care if you were a fireman in Baltimore, Boston, Chicago, and then you come to the FDNY. I don't give a fuck. I'd much rather you say, you know what? I bartended and bar backed for 10 years, and while I was doing that, I was playing hoops and playing basketball, trying to become a professional basketball player. I didn't work out. Here I am. I'm in the fire service. Boom, I'll take that guy and make him a fireman.
Yeah.
Because he understands where to fit in.
Yeah.
He understands teamwork. He understands failure. Very important. That's the good character in a firefighter that I'm looking for to work with.
Yeah. You and I have had a lot of great conversations over the years, and I started smirking and smiling. I don't know if you saw that or not when you started talking about the bartenders and the barbacks, because one of my favorite conversations that we recorded and didn't make it because the audio got corrupted.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite conversations that you and I have had was when I was talking about being able to read a room.
Yeah.
And you brought up a bartender, and I said, yeah, we'll take it a step further. It's not just the bartender, but it's the waitress, and she's sleeping with this guy, and he's outside smoking a butt, and then this guy wants her, but she doesn't want him. She's with, like, being able to read that and pick up all those. That was one of my favorite conversations you and I have ever had, and we brought that back to the firehouse, and that absolutely parallels exactly with what you're talking about.
I love just going to a bar by myself.
Yes, agreed.
And just sitting back and
watching. Just watch.
It parallels the fireground so dynamically that it's you would never believe it unless you really sat down and did it and just watched the behind the scenes, like you said. Now, I didn't take it to that level. You're taking it to the next level. I'm just taking it to positioning, the X's and O's, the bartending IQ, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Knowing, like, I'm pulling this beer, but I cross the room, I see this guy, he just stand there a little too long. This guy's a bit of an asshole, he's gonna wait a few minutes for his drink, right? But kind of like as you do it, you see good bartenders doing that, you know? That's a good fireman. He's looking, okay, that's getting done, I gotta take care of that. It all comes together, you know?
They talked about a bartender. Why does a bartender always stand there and clear the water spots off glasses? Because when they do it, what are they doing?
Sizing up the room.
Watching the room. They're watching the room, and they'll stand there and they'll clean every glass when they have a minute of downtime. And they stand there and they just look around and they're taking it all in. And I was never a bartender, but man, I would have been a good one.
Would be,
Like,
yeah.
I definitely would have been, you know. I've always wanted to, on a side note, I've always wanted to have a breakfast lunch place, 12 counter stools, that's it, and the flat tops in front of the counter. So you engage the customers, and then as the next person comes in, everybody slides down one seat, you know what I mean? That type of place. Until by the time you get to your 12th seat, you're out. You know what I mean? That type of thing. And to me, that is like, that's fun. It's like engaging people, working with people. You give them a little bit of education. You're throwing a hash brown on their plate when they're not looking. Like, you know, you're engaging the kids when they come in. You get, like, there's something about that type of personality, and we need that personality. I talk a lot in my program about we're missing like the salesman or the guy. Every company used to have a guy. Mm-hmm. Every department had a guy. You need something done, you call Mickey. Mickey's got a guy. If Mickey can't do it, Mickey's got a guy, and he knows a guy.
Yeah.
He's the guy that can get you new wiper blades on the engine quicker. He talks to the secretary, gets your overtime done, you know, gets you a new pair of gloves. He knows, you know, he knows the grocer on the corner will get chicken at half price tonight. Like all those stuff, right? The guy. That is a learned. You inherently have a lot of that in you, but it's also a learned way about you. And I think that we need that personality in the firehouse more than ever today.
Yeah.
We need the guy, the salesman, the guy that can get it done. I love that guy.
Yeah, and you're right, that's something that we are losing, and I think a lot of it comes from just how the tides are turning in this job and the fire service, and how, you know, things got, you know, I don't want to go into COVID, but the world changed.
Sure did.
And even just going out and having a bite to eat, restaurants, they're still struggling. And we're years out of this because people have found comfort in staying home. And when they realize it's easier not to get dressed and go out and communicate with people, I can just go on my phone and order food. Well, then we lose that guy. We lose the ability for that guy to get good at those skills.
I have never DoorDashed or Uber Eats or any of it.
Me neither.
I've never done it. Never.
That's not my scene.
No, not even close. But I think there's something to be said for that, you know. I don't even wait for like the local pizza place to deliver. I go get my car and go get it.
Yeah.
Like, why am I going to wait an hour if I can go get it in 15 minutes? Like, I got to drive across town. What's the big deal?
Yeah.
I don't know. There's something to that. I think it all goes hand in hand.
But the
I really
experience
do.
of eating that pizza is walking in and seeing the guy behind making the pizza and saying, "Yo, Jay, what's up, bro?
Hey,
How's
what's going
things,
on?
man?
Did you get out this
Last
weekend on the
night?
boat?
Yeah, you know,
right.
like that interaction is special.
It is. It is. We need to value that more than we do today.
Yeah.
I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they were talking about spies, and they were talking about how there is like the CIA has like part of their teaching and programming is like the ways of American people, and one of the things they said was we're overly engaging, where we we're aggressive in our position of saying hello and engaging people.
Spies are.
No, Americans.
Oh.
So like it's a Western thing. It's a Western thing. So like when you, or really interesting was Western people from America, from the West, they typically lean against the wall or doorway when they talk. I do it all the time.
Yeah, me too, yeah.
I do it all the time.
I catch myself doing it. I'm thinking, why do I do
I'm
this?
conscious of it,
Yeah.
yes. I'm like, I'm going to lean against the door frame and then I can do this, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, why do I do that? And they said that is very much a Western thing. But I was talking about the engagement part of it, and I was like, are Americans really that way? Because I never heard the word introverted like I do today. And I'm like, are you really introverted, or is it just an excuse? It's the same thing with like the word anxious today. Everybody's anxious. Or do you just have some nerves?
Yeah.
Like I grew up and you were nervous. Like if you had to perform in a school play, or you had to take a test, or spelling bee, or publicly speak. You're not anxious about it. You just have some nerves.
No, yeah. I think that's where a lot of misdiagnoses come from, is from these people making excuses for feelings that they don't really know how to explain.
Yeah. We've given them titles.
Yeah.
And then with titles comes entitlement. I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
I really do. So, well, your post was awesome. I enjoyed it. I enjoy every one of your posts because I know what goes into them, and I know how involved you are with the writing and making sure the verbiage is correct. But I think that really matters, right? If you're going to put out the type of content that you enjoy putting out, it has to be vetted and thorough.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. And all that writing I do, it's mine. But there's times where I'm talking, not so much the cultural side of things, but when I get into some tactics and stuff, and I'm not 100% sure on, which there's a lot I'm not 100% sure on, I'll bounce it off. I have a core group of 3 or 4 guys.
Great network.
That I can say, hey, what do you think about this?
Yeah.
Or if I even just before I even write,
Right.
we could just normal phone call from work for an hour with a couple of friends of mine, and next thing we're just throwing ideas around, and then it sparks an idea for a post. So it's already vetted sometimes before it even gets into writing, because it's just a conversation we're having with guys that we're bouncing ideas off each other. Hey, I had a fire the other day. What do you think about this? Yeah, that works. Try this, or I've done this, and all kind of comes together. But like the influx, man, there's been so much content out there. Is it good or bad? I don't know. I'm starting to believe that it's bad, because there's a lot, nothing against certain pages or content coming out, but we're just burying each other now. The good stuff, the bad stuff, there's a lot of it together, but it's being buried.
We have to, the consumer, the firefighter, has to weed through a lot of, I was going to do a post the other day. I still want to do it. I've been wrapping my own opinions around it, but just the word noise.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of noise. I don't know if that's good or bad. Like you said, I don't know if it is good or bad, but what it does do is it creates an environment where, let's bring it back to our conversation, where the company boss has only made the 4th floor and the chief's already on the radio asking for a report. And he still has 2 more floors to go, and then he still has to get through the apartment threshold and get into the apartment and give a report. It's noise. Until you can get there and give that report, everything that you're being prompted is noise.
Yeah.
It's noise. It's the same thing today. I think there's a lot of noise, and we now have to force firefighters to weed through the noise to find the true transmissions that deliver. And you know, and it always plays itself out.
It does.
You know, it does. But what I would say is, you know, take it from where it comes from. And a couple things that you said to me long ago, which I hold dear, is if you're gonna look for information, look at who is consuming that information, look at who's sharing that information, and look who that person that's providing the information, look who they run with.
Yeah.
And that's how you know if that information that's being, or that noise, if you will, good or bad, is worth listening to.
And it's also important too, where like we are having an influx of all these new accounts coming out with some great stuff, but guys aren't putting their names to it. So good or bad,
Yeah.
I'm not buying into your message because I don't know who you are. And if you can have the greatest content coming out and I'm reading, I'm like, yeah, this shit's good, but you don't put John Smith, so-and-so department, because you're scared to get in trouble. All right, take the department off, put John Smith. You have to own it though. Either way, you have to own it. If you're not owning it, don't put it out, because you can't really have a true conversation or debate with anyone unless I can say, I'm talking to Jeremy. I'm talking to John, I'm talking to Bill. If I don't know who I'm talking to, it's noise. It's all noise.
100%.
It's like I read that, and it's like the Charlie Brown teacher, blah, 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 blah. Even though there's good information, I'm like, a lot of times I don't even read it. I don't read a lot of stuff, to be honest with you, but we've talked about that. It's like, I don't want to pollute what's going on up here, you know?
I'm so
and,
right there.
and when I'm
with
saying pollution, it's not that it's bad content. I just don't want to be skewed to what I'm thinking, the things that I'm.
So funny how you and I are certainly on the same page on that.
Yeah. A lot of noise. Good or bad, it's noise to me because it influences
100%.
what I believe in.
Yep.
That's it. I don't want to be
agree.
influenced by anyone. I don't want to read. I like to read books. I like to try to read books. But again, we've talked about this. That's not my message. That's someone else's message.
That's right.
Mine comes from here. And it's one day if I do write a book, then that's great. People can read it. But no disrespect, I'm not going to read yours.
I asked you what goes into your post, and you go 20 plus years, every single post. I love that.
Yeah.
I forget your exact words that you said to me, but and that caught me off guard. I was expecting you to be like, yeah, it takes like a week or two to write a post, you know, or to form my thoughts and then put it down and type it out and then edit it and then publish it. You know, it takes a week or two. You were like, it's taken me over 20 years. And I sat there and I go, boom. I'm like, that's absolutely true. I agree. Yours is yours.
Yeah, I did a post, it was the other day, but the fine line, right? Yeah, you're a good reader. Read a couple passages of that. It's kind of what we're talking about.
Check this out. Man. Fine line. Authenticity is experience-based learning versus social media influencers, is deeply rooted in personal encounters and challenges. Influencers who have not navigated their own unique experiences often resort to replicating the content and styles of others, which may lack the depth and individuality that authentic engagement requires. On the flip side, firsthand experiences shared by some can lead to a deeper understanding and a distinct perspective that resonates authentically with their audience. But it's a fine line. I reposted that and put it's a fine line, 100%. Every success and failure on and off the fireground has a story that enhances character, providing valuable lessons and insights that are unique to them as individuals. This is what fosters genuine authenticity. As we move forward, it's possible that we will see more individuals setting themselves apart as more than just influencers. This will be a welcome change in a space that often criticized for being repetitive and lacking originality and experience. Perhaps we will shift towards a more diverse and creative firefighting educational landscape where authenticity and individually should be valued above all else. Only time will tell what the future holds, but it's exciting to think about the possibilities. This came from a conversation you and I had.
Yeah. More or less, though, just there's good stuff out there.
Yes.
But you have to own it to make it great. The good stuff gets washed away. And when you're ready to take that step, listen, I started with an alias as well, but very quickly I learned that I'm going to go, not that I want to go anywhere, but this message is going nowhere because it's not addressed to me. And all the work I'm putting into it, I realize, why am I hiding behind all this work that I'm putting into this? So if you're putting the work into it and you have a good message, you have the grit, you have the experience, then put your name on it and let's go, baby. You know, like there's a lot of good stuff. A lot of people want to learn, right? So let's do this. And there's a lot of good stuff out there.
From the get, that was the most important thing, was authenticity for me.
Yeah.
It was to put myself out there. And let me tell you something, the first year or two,
Oh, what I was drawn to you is that you, like you say, there was what was the thing you always said? Full disclosure, right? Is that what you always said, right?
yeah.
And right away, I was like, wow, this guy's got some balls, because you were you blazed the trail in it's become an industry, I guess, in the industry of like no way I'm putting my face out there beyond my department, you know, and even within your department, it's like a scary thing to do.
It's not easy.
No, it's not easy.
Even today, I still get scrutinized more than you'll ever know. The amount of scrutiny that gets in there, and it's comments, and it's this, and it's that. And I look at it this way, like, ultimately, I feel sorry for those people, you know, for them to take time out of their own day to share with me what their hate is. All right, like, I sleep well at night, you know? And that was important to me, though. But I agree with you 100%, man. If you're going to do this, and you and I have talked about it, some of the brightest and best in the fire service will never, ever share their thoughts and ideas because of just that.
Yeah, and a lot of that panel or that board that I speak to often, daily, they're the guys that'll never do it, but like they're getting their message out through me a lot of times, and it's like we're talking about ideas, you know?
Yeah.
So it was hard for me to be the representation for those guys, but once I did it, I look back at times, but just as you know, I get scrutinized all the time, but like, how many times we send stuff to each other, this is what it's about, because we get a message from someone, right?
It's true.
Well,
it's true.
It's daily. We're sending each other something, right?
Yeah.
So it's paying off.
I agree wholeheartedly, and I would say this too, that people that listen to this is like, you could have an unbelievable brother or sister in your department that just has so much to share and so much experience to pass on. Give them the opportunity. You know who that person is. Lend an ear to them.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be social media.
It does not have to be.
It can be just...
Some of the most amazing people I know don't even know what National Fire Radio is.
Yeah.
They're not on social media, and they don't need to be. They don't want to be, and that's perfectly fine. But they still have an incredible message to share, and you need to sit there and allow for them to pass it on.
And there's thousands and thousands of those guys in this country in the fire service.
Everywhere. They're everywhere. I keep meeting them, which is cool, right? Like, that's the selfish part for me with National Fire Radio, is it's opened doors to meet all these people.
Yeah.
Oh, I value it more than anything. I really do. Anyway, I'm done. We're done. We're out of here.
Yeah, sounds good.
Finish up. Cheers, brother. Thank you for joining me once again, man.
Thank you.
Good stuff.